to Awakening Truths Make Up Your Power podcast. I am your host, Nicole, here with both co hosts today, Tina and Stephanie. Very excited. Tina, how was it having your week off?
I don't know that I'd call it a week off. It was a week of different activities that needed to be done. A lot going on. So just been busy and just trying to find my grounding right now.
Absolutely. Have you been putting your feet on the grass or hugging any trees?
I did not hug any trees. Um, but I was outside getting gardens ready. That's
Awesome.
as close to
Yes.
grounding as Tina gets.
Yeah, because you say you connect with your dad that way too, as well, right?
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it was funny this morning. I took some pictures. I have a lilac tree right to the left of me, and I can open the window. And there were three male cardinals and two female cardinals.
What?
And I was trying to get a picture of them, but because I'm so close to it, the slightest move like kind of freaked them when they flew away. But I think they're been build a nest again in that tree.
I love it. Your spirit just hanging right outside your window.
Yeah,
They're like, this is where she does her work, so we
they
gotta
follow
watch her.
me
Keep an
everywhere I
eye.
go.
Oh, I love that. Which is awesome with what we've been talking about this week, everybody. We've been talking about spirituality and religion, the lights and the shadows of it, and how beautiful it is to be able to connect with our inner selves and our energetic worlds. Which brings me to Nicole's energy forecast, everybody. So today, being May 6th, Pluto's going retrograde. And during this retrograde, happens every year for about 5 months, there's going to be some energies that present themselves, some opportunities for transformation, because Pluto is a part of Scorpio, and Scorpio is a part of power dynamics, death, sex, rebirth, transformation, but ultimately truth. So with Pluto going retrograde, every we're all going to see a reflection of truths that we may have hidden within ourselves that have gone on unconscious, and it will become conscious for us to then revisit and have an opportunity to grow from it and now make it become something that becomes conscious. So Pluto doesn't deal with just surface level, neither does Scorpios. It goes for what's underneath the layer. And in perfect theme, my Pluto planet painting in the background. Um, just want to share quickly, too, guys, how this will show up collectively. That will be definitely hidden truths coming to light. That'll be individual as well as collective. Systems that will be questioned. I'm sure everybody is starting to see that already and has been. But power dynamics, power struggles, that'll be something that really becomes visible and comes to the forefront within our partnerships, relationships, work dynamics. Uh, Making sure that there's like a ebb and flow that's happening, um, and people continuing to wake up to what's no longer aligned. What once was hidden is now coming to the light. So us having the conversations about spirituality, religion, and indoctrination is actually coming up very strongly right now because people are really starting to question these systems in ways that become more empowering by acknowledging what has been disempowering. So the old patterns, old belief structures, emotional triggers, and situations repeating for us to have the opportunity to see what we may be avoiding so that way we can transform it. Ladies, have you guys, when sharing that energy, kind of started noticing that internally at all or around you by any chance?
Probably both. I'm gonna say probably a little more internally. Um, I'm gonna stick with internally because a lot of the folks that I've been around lately, they're all feeling something. They just don't know what it is because they don't connect that way.
Right.
So having a conversation has been a little bit difficult to try to break through. But I will stick with probably a little bit of both, but mostly myself.
You might in your coaching start noticing it more and more where they might start becoming a little more aware in the conversations because the Pluto retrograde can tend to kind of bring that up to the surface where it becomes more of like a deeper awareness rather than like I don't know what's going on. So you might see that kind of shift over the next 5 months with you and your clients of being able to have more of a conversation about that.
Right.
Stephanie, have you noticed? Were you at all or?
I have internally, and it's kind of crazy because Tina, you took everything that I was just gonna say right out of my mouth. So I don't know if, you know, it's like that for everybody, but apparently Tina and I are on the same energy wavelength right now.
Well, I think we probably share very similar belief systems around us.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Absolutely. I've noticed for myself that the energy and being ruled as at one of our ruling planets, I've definitely noticed an internal shift, like kind of slowing down. And I'm trying to reflect a lot more on where I may be dominating over dominating in situations. And that's not what I want to do. So I'm kind of trying to balance out my own inner power struggle of how I can show up authentically while also doing it in a way that is more balanced and grounding, maybe I would say for myself. Try not to be
well,
resistant.
I think you're also trying to remain curious um, in a space where people right now are just running wild, including myself, just trying to keep up with all the balls in the air and what the expectations are. And then as you're being pulled by different external forces, you're just kind of like, what the f, I can't do this, I need to take 5 minutes to breathe. And I think when you remain in that state of curiosity, you allow yourself that ability to stabilize and be a little more um, open to how others are feeling or how they're reacting or why they're reacting the way they're reacting.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a fair perspective on that. I could definitely, yeah, noticing kind of like what might be repeating itself or uh, my nervous system, it's been important to like really regulating that. I've been noticing I'm doing a lot more of my heart and chest holding lately, so definitely feeling like everybody's needing some inner child attention, but in a way that's empowering. Maybe I'm still doing the hugging thing because I think that we are all at a very sensitive place of transition and trying to understand because there's so many things transitioning like you mentioned with the balls and I say spinning plates. um but it's a kind of exciting because this is a building year, with the fire horse energy. So it's all new terrain and territory and conversations and different beliefs, which brings us into talking about religion today, in a way that's going to be empowering, never coming from a place of wanting to judge or disregard anybody's own personal experiences. And before talking about religion, just want to share with everybody that what we talk about does not replace professional medical or mental health services. And if you feel triggered at any time, feel free to always have somebody to make sure that you get any kind of assistance that you may need in communicating anything that may be going on. We just want to provide clarity and open conversation of the things that can be uncomfortable, just so that way we can bring some light and empowerment to the conversation.
All right.
So,
Well, I
Tina,
I would say that a lot of people have very different belief systems, and I think the three of us are really here to get folks to understand why they're feeling, what they're going through, why they're going through it, how to navigate it, versus, really trying to change anyone's beliefs or value systems. Because spirituality and religion, I'm hoping I could tie this connection fairly well today for everybody, but both both of them are humans that are longing for connection. So we're just trying to find a way to connect either with ourselves or with a higher purpose, whichever we believe in, right? So we want to be able to belong. We want that sense of purpose. We want guidance. We want a sense of something more. And spirituality and religion can do that both, but religion is through communities and traditions, right? They're more, black and white, where spirituality really is about the inner experience and intuition. And those are all things that we've been talking about. It's it's just how we choose to connect with the world around us so that we understand how we're feeling inside and what that purpose is. I said this to somebody the other day on a call because he's really struggling to see it from my perspective, but I'll get him there. I said it's a different route, but it's the same longing. Like you're just taking one path, I'm going a different, but we're gonna meet. We're gonna meet somewhere in the middle or at the end, and we're both gonna come out with the outcome that we've been yearning, right? It's just what did we I leaned more into myself and he leaned more into his higher power. And I think that's when the wheels start to turn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's almost like you're taking wheels that were once external. Well, from what I'm gathering, and I think it's kind of beautiful, and being like, you can still have this external and turn the wheels inward. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like religion can be an embodiment as well. And just questioning, being okay with questioning whatever those belief systems are, right? Are they limiting me or are they empowering me? Is what I'm actually believing true for me? Or is it something that I've just grown up into? And being okay with questioning whatever that may be, whether it is religion or spirituality. That's what's beautiful about life is that we have the opportunity to question whatever may be limiting for us so that way we can better inform ourselves and others, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about religion, religion really is you're finding answers through teachings, stories, shared wisdoms. But in spirituality, you're looking through a personal insight, that inner knowing, that lived experience. And we've often said on the show that life should not be living through us. We should be living through life. And those are where those lessons come in that sometimes are really hardcore and we just don't understand why they're happening. But there is a way to understand them if you open your eyes to whether you're into the religious space or spirituality, or you can make them both. I'm
Hmm.
learning to make them both. It's a hybrid model for me. I know when my religion plays a part in something, and I know when my spirituality plays a part in that, and I'm just learning that. Where they connect is in the desire to understand life. It's not about surviving it. It's about understanding it.
The embodiment stage. And you know, too, when you said that, it made me think, Stephanie, because there's kind of relatability in where you've shared before on your being raised in different religious structures and how you're kind of on the spiritual journey and quest as well. And when Tina was reflecting on the intertwining, I kind of thought about you in that aspect. What are your thoughts on that?
I I really think that her finding that, I don't want to say happy medium, but where they both um, are in her life and what's affecting what. I think that's actually really beautiful for you, Tina, because there's not going to be a struggle,
Right.
like that inner struggle with you. Um, and Nicole, like you said, I grew up Pentecostal, and that for me was, it was more of worrying about what am I doing wrong, you know, and what's going to happen if I do this, and because it's a very a very strict religion, and you know, having your great grandfather be the pastor, you're you know, you're on your toes, so on eggshells. But it just the things happening didn't, like I said, you know, people speaking in tongues and feeling that Holy Spirit, I just didn't have that happen for me. And now it's like, what's wrong with me? And you know, am I doing something wrong that's not happening for me? So, you know, that in itself was just a struggle, not, you know, just feeling like I didn't belong, or I just wasn't worthy enough to be able to have that.
You know, it's funny you say the word worthy, because I do think a lot of people who fall into the very religious space do lean very much into the religion, right? The doctrines, what's written, what scriptures look like. And I hear a lot of times people say, I'm going to give it to God. Like, I'm just going to give him my troubles tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to believe that that's the way it works, because that's the Catholic in me.
Uh-huh.
I do believe there is a God up there. I do believe that there, you know, my religion um is part of me. But where I had to grow was I had to shift from asking, why me? Why does this keep happening to me? What did I do? Like, what why are you punishing me? Or why, how many more punches am I going to take before I can't breathe anymore? And that's when I started to lean into, what, all right, there's got to be something more here. This isn't about the man upstairs. This is about me. This is about me taking accountability. This is about me having some self-awareness. And even though I could not have changed the way the story was going to end, I had to be comfortable with what I did to help that story go the way it needed to. So, putting your parents on hospice, understanding, you know, you're kind of signing off on where they're headed next. Was it the right thing to do? Absolutely. Did it hurt? Sure, it's all part of grief. But when it happened one after another, by the seventh person, I was like, what? I can't do this anymore. And that's when I had to lean in and be like, all right, so how do I shift? Because the way I'm thinking is really having a very negative impact on me.
And it's a self-worth, right? When we start questioning what's going on and we're starting to see our limiting beliefs or stuff that is limiting us from being able to kind of push through and break through that empowerment muscle, I think that's when the journey starts navigating inward, right? Because I mean, religion, I mean, it's family, it's tradition, and I think it's beautiful to have tradition. I think it's beautiful to have some shared values, some structure to start with there. And I think that over time, if there's certain structures that don't seem to feel internally okay, that it's okay to question it, you know, and be okay with saying that it doesn't make me any less, say, religious because I'm questioning things, because that's how we evolve as people. I feel that spirituality can kind of open up that space to allow it, but inevitably, no matter what your external beliefs are, the true belief is what you believe about yourself, because that's inevitably going to be what drives your choices and how you show up in life. And in that moment, I feel like we should have Stephanie's purposeful pause.
Okay, so I'm actually kind of impressed with what I came up with today based on what we were just talking about. Um, so, religion often lives in the background of our daily choices more than we realize. It shapes how we define right and wrong, how we respond to hardships, and even how we treat ourselves when we fall short. At its best, it offers a framework for meaning, grounding us in something larger than the moment. But beneath the structure, rituals, and teachings, there's a quieter layer, our inner truth. That's the personal, lived experience of what we feel real, aligned, and authentic. Sometimes religion enforces that truth, giving it language and community. Other times, it can challenge us to question what we've inherited versus what we generally believe. The balance lies in using religion not just as a set of rules, but as a mirror, something that helps you see yourself more clearly rather than something that tells you who you must be. So, with that, I think a good question for everybody is, where in my daily life am I acting from inherited or chosen belief? And where am I acting from my own inner knowing?
Are you going to tell us?
Am I where I am? I was asking you.
Well, I was just reflecting on what you said, and so the overlap for me really starts to be about the relationship versus the belief.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your belief systems, you have your traditions, um, you have that relationship in that space, but really you're trying to find the right balance between what I know and what I'm learning. I think there's more learning in spirituality because there's no written book.
Right.
I I I don't I don't think there's a written book that people go to. So maybe I'm missing out on some kind of church I should be going to.
Nope, spirituality, so everybody knows, disclaimer, is an internal job and it's internal work, so then that way it cannot be a controlled overall system. Always remember that when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah, so I guess with my spiritual experiences, sorry, I have a sick dog here, and if he throws up on my foot, I'm gonna kill him. My spiritual experiences are deepened through the diversity and appreciation for community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure if we're going to answer the question that you're asking, but in religious, I guess it's more about allowing room for questioning, intuition, and personal interpretation. So I think that's what I lack in the religious side is the intuition, because in my mind it's really not about my gut or what I'm thinking. It's already kind of written in black and white in my mind. So I'm going to go with either one could be an obligation or tradition. It's just the relationship that you make it.
Yeah, because the true journey is back to self. Yeah, religion gives, a structure. It gives you something. I feel religion has given a lot of people, from my own perspective and experience, a starting point. A starting point of something more of community, especially when something happens. There's that support that's there. I always love the do unto others as you want done to yourself. I live and dream by that. um, I think that it can create connection and stability to begin with, especially if you're early on and you're not aware and understanding. I think that's important. I do believe for myself that it can kind of have a cutoff of, and that's where I think limiting beliefs can kind of form from that. Or some experiences, if it's like fear based. I've had some personal experiences, and we'll say that that's the shadow aspect of what could happen with religion and spirituality and with anything, is if we're fear-based teaching or are we empowering. There's been, guilt and shame. I know there's been a lot of pressure in regards to that we experience, but then at the same time we could always honor the fact that noticing those shadows are just inner our inner world kind of just seeing externally, so that gives us the opportunity to then question. So even though there's shadow aspects when it comes to things, it's not a matter of looking at it necessarily as bad or good. It's a matter of looking at it from a perspective of where we can grow, where we can become aware, where we're not allowing ourselves to see something for what it is, which is kind of the shadow aspect again of spirituality, right? Spiritual bypassing in a way. When we're just kind of like, love is light, love is light, love is light, but my world's crumbling underneath me, but it's okay because, and we've seen this shadow aspect also be, we'll just give it to God, give it to source. We want to acknowledge, we want to allow, but and so we can make the inspired steps. We don't want to ignore. We don't want to, if it's divisive inside, how can we make it wholeness in one? And that's kind of for me where I kind of look at religion, spirituality. It's all what are we feeling internal that we're able to shift internal, because there's growth in it when we're questioning, when we're separating the truth from what we're conditioned to already know, and we're reconnecting with our inner world, however that shows up, whatever structure that looks like for you. That's the growth in the light and the shadow, I feel, when it comes to religious structures, just like anything else. What do you guys think?
So, so if you look at religion as a shared path, it's already paved the way, right? We're just walking down that path of whatever our religious beliefs are. And then to your point, spirituality is that inner compass. Your inner compass is kind of giving you the guidance, the intuition, the feeling to know, to think, to feel, to allow all that to happen. And I think that's where you get a little more personal growth, is because you're opening yourself up to that inner compass of yours. Um, I think spirituality is not a roadmap, kind of like religion, but spirituality is kind of like, it's kind of teaching you how to walk. Like, it's not like, if you're going on a wrong path, it's not going to stop you, because in all honesty, that path that might not feel right and feel scary might actually be the path you have to walk to learn that lesson that you were brought here to do and take care of and work from.
Mhm.
And religion to me is bigger. It's a bunch of people in one space practicing, doing, whatever it may be. People are all coming. And spirituality, it's about you. You're sitting with yourself,
Mhm.
because we're all individual, and when we're individual, my feelings from a spiritual perspective, and what I'm going through, and how I'm coping with it, is going to be very different than how Nicole's going through it, or how Stephanie would go through it. So it's kind of like allowing yourself to sit in that space and let it really kind of push you outside your comfort zone.
I find it funny that you've used that path analogy, because I think I used that. I don't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday that I used that path, or that example. And like you said, sometimes it veers you off, and it might not be an easy, fun path, but it's something that, where I talk about, where you have to get uncomfortable, which is dealing with the things in the shadows. And sometimes that's that path you have to take to get back on to the path that you're meant to be on.
And where they both meet is a place where an individual feels both held and free.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's why it's so important to kind of blend them a little bit, in my opinion, is because I do think that there's worth in both. It's just not allowing something that's written in a book to define the choices I'm making, when inside I feel like there's a different way for me to navigate it.
And that's the individual experience. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to have those experiences, because with what religion can do, yes, it gives you that straight path and structures of You follow this, this is inevitably what you'll get. In all fairness, from my experience, what spirituality does is like, okay, think about Back to the Future. Where we're going, we don't need roads. That comment, I love that phrase. I live by that phrase because I truly believe that we are meant to make our own path. We have people, community, religion stuff around us to kind of just be like, hey, some tools, just like what we're sharing, some spiritual tools, this, that, and the other. What would you like to pick up and use today? And really giving the choice in the freedom in that, because the goal at the end of the day is honoring yourself, your roots, creating your own relationship with truth, trusting yourself, and then just living from more of an aligned state, so then that way you're growing and evolving and reclaiming who you are within, whether that's religion or spirituality. It's reclaiming yourself and your truth. And that's what's beautiful about this journey, is because there's no wrong way to go about it, because your experiences are your experiences for a purpose. If you're still having those lessons, well, internally, you must be needing those lessons still to you're having that experience for a purpose rather than it's happening to you. So some tools that could maybe be helpful along the way, using discernment. Does this feel like peace or fear? What are my mental thoughts sharing with me? Are they limiting my beliefs or are they empowering? Your inner voice check. Does this feel true to me, whether you're religious or not? When you're in that experience, what does it feel like? And am I honoring myself? Guilt is not always guidance. So being allowing yourself, Tina uses worldwide grace, your own personal connection through prayer or meditation, your way. These are beautiful tools to embody and empower yourself, regardless of the religious structures or spiritual wordings. These are great tools just to keep empowering yourself. And the biggest one to leave with is boundaries. You are allowed to evolve past your beliefs that you once set forth, and that is okay. You can honor where you came from without staying where you've outgrown.
I think that's where I'm at right now, Nicole, or I have been for a while, is I've I believe that there's, a higher power, a God, whatever, and everyone calls theirs. Um, but I'm not with the traditions and the going to a physical church every Sunday anymore. I think that's I've moved beyond those limits and um going down this other path right now with my spirituality, but for years I have been outside of the four walls of a physical church and a lot of the traditions that are done with those physical churches. I've been just my own person on my own journey, my own personal connection with that higher spirit for me.
And I think that's okay because I think you're not alone. I definitely fall in that space. You're not going to catch me at church on a weekend. I'm there for a funeral or a wedding. I'm just going to be honest. Um, but I will say that I think it was my cousin's funeral. The priest who did the sermon was unbelievable. Like he just connected on every level. He, my cousin had very, very unique friends, to say the very least, and the couple that were pulled to do the eulogy, all I did was pray that they didn't swear the entire time. Um, but the priest himself connected, and I was not in the spirituality space at that time. I was just listening to him, and I was engaged. But I also have this, and this is just my own personal issue. I also have this thing in the back of my head that I can't forget, and maybe forgive what I've known about the Catholic Church for some time now. But does that make me not want to be true to my religion? No, it just means I need to be true to myself and how I reflect the church and how I honor myself in that space.
And there's bad apples everywhere too. You know, a lot of the times we can get a bad taste in our mouths and kind of accumulate everything as a whole to maybe poor examples or people that were in leadership that had they been say in the religious structures or not, that that's just kind of the person that they are. And that's another thing I always like to bring up to the surface too, is that though I'm more spiritual and not religious, it doesn't change the fact that I truly believe that there is a lot of hope and joy and community and love in that space. There just may have been people who had more of a selfish intent or a misuse of power within that. But it doesn't mean that the whole structure as a whole is necessarily bad by any means. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
and a question always ask yourself is, what beliefs have I never questioned? That's a good moment of reflection. And do they empower me or limit me? Just a couple questions just to sit with in trying to more so empower you on your journey, because even I'm even hearing more and more in these religious structures, like Tina was kind of sharing, a lot more of a spiritual, more open lens. I've got a place right around the corner that is more empowerment church. It's a night church. Everybody is welcome. But I'll be honest, the word church has a little bit of a stickiness on my tongue in a way, but I have been curious though. So the people who are still trying to make efforts to be more empowering, my just belief is just I feel that God is within you. That's all. I believe that we can co-create, that it's a consciousness that we all are a part of. And I believe that when we do the internal work, that we are able to fully connect with our internal God.
So to that point, I think when I think of the higher power and who I believe that is, somebody, something, someone made me, right? We were all kind of brought into this world through whatever our religious beliefs tell us we were brought in as. There's nothing, I'm gonna make a very bold statement and then I'm gonna regret it. There's nothing that I think we'll find in a religious doctrine that would not support spirituality. Because I don't believe the intent of a Bible or whatever structure it is to tell you how to live, to honor your true self. It gives you guidelines and it might tell you what's the difference between right and wrong, and that's what kind of gives us the base of being a good person. But at the end of the day, we all we are all a spirit, form of a spirit,
Hmm?
right? We're part of some form of a spirit. We're just adding it into our daily lives and learning to live through that versus just to say, I mean, I didn't get dropped off here by like a stork, right? Like I was I was made by my parents and DNA, and how I come out is how my parents shape and educate me into those beliefs. But I would love to see if there's anything that says religion cannot cross into spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is reflections of people's experiences. And when it comes to right and wrong, for me personally, my perspective on that would be your own moral compass. Because I think that that's really what's going to inevitably drive you, regardless of Like really you got to reflect on what's internally driving you regardless. And we can point blame if we wanted to at religion or at people, but at the end of the day, the true scope is where are we allowing ourselves to have these experiences or not allowing ourselves to show up authentically or honest that these experiences are happening. Now, this is where we might differ again as well. I believe that we, on a soul level, because we are all energy before we come down to this planet, all kind of sit around like energies and make decisions on what we're going to experience, what parents we're going to have, what everything that we know as soon as that soul comes through that that's what. So again, why I believe the God consciousness is within us is because I believe that we are the powerful beings as to why we are here, that we created this exact experience, this exact body from our higher consciousness and then came into physical form to have this experience. So then that way we can experience all of the divisions of love and all of the unities of love. So then that way, as a collective, because I believe Mother Earth is the heartbeat of the universe, we raise that vibration of love out into the universe. Now, that can sound very hippity dippity, but that is the belief and the understanding and the know how that I feel of our earthly experience.
Well, when you look up
Whoops.
religious or religion, spiritual comes up. And it under religious comes holy and saintly, sacred, devout, divine, heavenly. But under mystical, which is probably more of spirituality, if I'm reading this correctly, it's divine, unworldly, otherworldly, psychic, non-physical, transcendent. So it's interesting because it does pull in the word spiritual into the religious space.
Yeah,
So I
well,
found something, Tina. Think of it this way: religion can be the container,
Yep.
and spirituality is the experience within it.
Yep.
And where did I just see that? I just lost it. That the so if you're feeling the pull between the two, like you were talking about your, finding spirituality here and religion here,
Yep.
it's actually a natural movement toward integration. So
Yeah.
bringing the two together. So I think they do cross over everywhere. I
I
don't think
do
that
think
there's, yeah.
I think so, and I think it'd be worth like trying to lean into that a little more because I think we've talked about it. Not everybody is going to follow the same belief systems, but if there's a way to help make those connections, doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Catholic, Hindu, whatever it is. I mean, look at Buddhism. Like, that's not an actual religion. That's a form of spirituality if you read all the different things around them. Um, or at least that's what I was taught. So yeah, I think there is a connection. It's just not taking away that personal belief of what I feel my religion is.
well, and look at heaven and hell, right? You know, they like religion says heaven and hell is an experience like you experience heaven after you pass, and then what? Like you go through the hell experience on earth or something like that. I'm not going to go into too much
Purgatory.
detail. Okay. So from my experience and with spirituality is that heaven and hell is a perspective within. We can experience both heaven and hell right here at this exact time. There is no we have to die to. That's where I very much differ from that because I've lived the experience of you can create your own heaven and hell. So that's just another way of embodiment in the spiritual lens of experience.
And
Um,
Tina, I my religion was different. There is no purgatory. When you pass, you are in heaven or you are in hell. There's no waiting, and for people to pray for you to help you get to where you're going.
Yeah.
So for me it's instant.
Well, and I also have a hard time believing, and I think I've had some people in my company agree. I don't know that there's necessarily a hell. I don't think we were put here to pass or fail,
Hmm.
because I think that if we are looking at it from a spiritual perspective, once I've completed what I've been here to do, I either get reassigned because I've learned something that I need to now go put into play somewhere else, or or maybe I didn't pass the test and I'm going to be given another opportunity to do it right the next time. But I don't necessarily think it means you're going to a place called hell.
Hmm.
I think it's just a reflection of within, because again, we are all living an external experience based on how our internal experience is repeating itself. Everything external is a reflection of our internal. As within, so without. That is like,
We had an older aunt that was very religious that just passed, and she would always say, "I'm ready to die." She was in her 90s. "I'm ready." I said, "Well, sweetheart, I don't think you've done any, like, you haven't completed your mission yet, because if you completed your mission, you wouldn't be here today." And she gets so mad at me, and she's like, "I just don't want to go to hell." I'm like, "We are in hell. Like, this is the test." Like, you're going, the life experiences are much harder than being told you're going to go sit in this really warm space for the rest of your life. This is like the battleground where we are today. This is where we're being challenged and judged on how we, who we are as humans. Sorry,
well, and we
Nicole, I
can't.
took up airtime because I knew your dog was barking.
No, 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 you're good. You're good. But we can't evolve as a species if everything's all rainbows and butterflies, right? So, inevitably, again, the verbiage is always can be triggering for people when we're using words like heaven and hell. But think about your experience of what you're thinking. Are your thoughts creating a hell within you that is showing up outside of you? Or are your thoughts heavenly, empowering, joyful, peaceful, inspiring? Because that's the heaven that you're going to experience outside, regardless of what other people are doing in the world. You will still have those experiences because that is the embodiment of truth. Knowing that whatever is happening outside is a reflection of the internal and vice versa. But with that being said, it is Tina's reflection time.
So
Possibly.
I don't know if I'm ready for Tina's reflection time. I think I have one more
Oh,
comment.
go ahead. Yeah, please.
I want to react to what you just said. So I don't think people can make that connection of what you just said unless they're open to spirituality, right? When you think about how divided this world is, and I'll just throw out the P word, politics, there's a lot of hatred just based off of who who you voted for and who you didn't vote for, right? It it isn't linked to, I can't link it to like my heaven or hell, and what I feel is heavenly versus what is not feeling right. But that divide amongst beliefs is what separates us as individuals.
Where our attention goes, energy flows. And when we look at politics and we look at grief and, or I'm sorry, when we look at control and fear, and shame, and it's all calculated. Every bit of it is calculated because if we could keep the people down and out of their knowing, their joy, their peace, then we can enslave them to what we want to control them. That's what I see when I see all of that playing out. We are, as spiritual, energetic beings, playing out on the world stage the division that was orchestrated within, playing without, so then that way everybody can turn inward, which is why spirituality is becoming more normalized in conversation, that I believe from my experience. and of my understanding.
Right.
I always want to make that clear that I'm not trying to.
No, I don't think that's what, I'm not saying that. What I'm just more focused on is that we are coming from a point of our own personal experiences in this space, and others haven't had that same opportunity. So they're stuck in a different place, but they don't realize they may be stuck. They may just think that this is the burden they need to carry, right? So it's we it's getting people educated on to not like look at spirituality as something that is taboo, but also again connecting it to religion. I think is really important for people. All right.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I think it's important because I mean, religion can be a beautiful experience, but it can be limiting. So anything that could be limiting you from your power, just have that in your awareness. Same thing goes for, again, relationships with other people or spirituality. Um, when it comes to truth, it's all about your relationship to it for yourself. You're allowed to choose it how you want to choose it. In anything that you believe, is it bringing you freedom or is it constricting you from showing up authentic? Overall, we talked a lot about today the light and the shadow of religion. We talked about Pluto retrograde and how that's kind of showing up energetically. So just know over these next 5 months, giving yourself grace and allowing the internal restructuring and rebirthing to unfold and allowing those deep hidden truths to show up because they're going to, and getting honest with what those look like for you and how you want to empower yourself moving forward, is what I would definitely like to close with on my part. In regards to the conversation today, I think it was really great. I think that I also got some differing perspective when it comes to religion as well today. So thank you, ladies, for that conversation. Um, and then, yeah, now I would like to throw it. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay, now I'd like to throw it over to Tina for Tina's reflection time.
They gave her 2 times to say
I
it.
know.
All
Make
right.
up
So
for your
let's
day.
just take a breath and check in with ourselves and how we're feeling after that conversation. What made you feel genuinely happy or steady? Let that be your guidepost. If anything connected with you and it made you feel good, enlightened, and empowered, lean into it. If it didn't connect, that's okay. It didn't connect with me right away. It it's all about your pathway. What felt like an old pattern trying to pull you back? Let that be information and not judgment. So understanding where those religious beliefs, the limiting beliefs, anything that's keeping you from being your genuine self, look at that and try to identify, is it pulling you back? Is it a pattern? And how do you break it? And you don't need to fix anything in this moment. Just be in the moment. Awareness is the shift. Alignment follows. And then action will come naturally. And as you move forward, may you honor what nourishes you, release what no longer fits, and trust the quiet truth rising within you. And I think what I can't repeat enough is awareness is the shift. We've all felt the awareness. We knew we needed to align, we just didn't know to what. And then once we figured it out, it all made perfect sense.
I love that. That reminds me of the jet in the when it's flying. What was it? The when it's going really really fast and the pilot they want to pull back because they're shaking so bad, and
Yep.
it's like in that moment instead of pulling back and out, lean into it. Because if you just allow yourself to lean in, you'll break through in a whole new way to where joy, peace, love, and understanding will reside. So give yourself the opportunity to just lean into the space.
Right.
Daphne, is there anything you'd like to close with before we end today, my lady?
Um, I think that you know, the beliefs and the traditions that you grew up with are part of who you are, but don't forget to look internally and see if that is where you want to continue to be, or if there's another path that you need to follow or you want to follow, to to make sure that you're being true to yourself and not limiting yourself and limiting who you are and who you are meant to be.
Allow, allow, allow.
I think Nicole was gonna make a comment, and I'm not doing it to put you on the spot, but it's to kind of get you to think about things a little, I don't know, scratch your head maybe. So, your father was what? He was more spiritual or religious?
Spiritual. No, no
Okay.
religious. No, no, no.
And he's buried in a Catholic cemetery.
Hmm.
How does that make you feel?
Fine. It's staying with tradition. I know that though my father wasn't religious, he still had religious traditions that were in the family. And he had his mother that he loved very much that was there. My mother was there. That was just, again, the old ways in which things were, where people really just, some to their own demise, followed into the traditions and kept them going, as a way of familiarity, which I respect and I honor and I understand. However, I'm one of those ones that don't, I don't need familiarity or to stay within the box. For me, I'm just a peacock and I gotta fly, man. So the more freedom that I can find in my journey, with structure and boundaries, the better. But I'm okay with that because they're both across from each other. But the thing of it is that I truly believe these are our meat suits, and once our souls leave our bodies, they become a part of within us. So they're with me everywhere I go. But there is something beautiful on having a presence of, hey, if you want to go visit, and just having that moment with both parents near each other and the saints. There's a beautiful energy about that cemetery as well. So again, there's no dislike towards the religion, like or hatred towards it by any means. No, it just there's just systems within it that I just don't agree with, and that just don't align with me.
And he felt that way as well, Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing about religion is that if there are parts of it that you want to continue carrying, absolutely do it. And if there's not, absolutely do it. Either way, it's your journey. It's your process, and it's about your peace at the end of the day. What brings you peace? That's what I want for everybody in the world, is what brings you peace, enjoy, and honors your authentic reason why you're here. All right.
Yeah, it was just a question I thought of, kind of pondered on while I was
Yeah.
up at the cemetery yesterday.
I know, I saw that. I was like, hey, go clean off my mom. She might need a little scrub a dubbing.
We we just left there, and I was driving through, and I'm like, I wonder how many people are buried here that would have chose a different option. I actually think there are some Jehovah Witnesses making their way to my front door right now.
How interesting. Yeah, they won't do it here
Wow.
with the stuff that I have on my front porch. I've watched them. I've watched them walk right up and then turn right around and walk out because the stuff that I have on my front porch wards them away. Bye, see ya. But
Tina,
with that
give them a
being,
link to the podcast so they can get.
So I have no issue. My mother had a very good friend who was a Jehovah and lovely lady, but I just felt like my mom, we can't put the Christmas tree up until Caroline comes to visit in the beginning of December. I'm like, why do I gotta wait for her to come before I could decorate?
hey, anybody's just trying to get people together. Everybody means well. I just have an energy that people just know
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that
you
those
also said you have something
conversations
on
they're
your
just
porch.
not going to enjoy. They don't tend to enjoy having conversations with me. I'll have them with them all day long. but people usually don't tend to enjoy what I'm sharing, and some do. I've had people come in that are Christian loyals that came into a psychic session, and they said it's all about words. All it is words. Some would call that a prophet, is a seer. When it comes to religious aspects, some people like to use psychics to try to act as if they're witchy and that they're deemed it's all words. At the end of the day, it's all a matter of what you want to use the word to empower or disempower. And I'll have a conversation with you all day long that'll circle back to a way of empowerment, no matter what the conversation is.
While you remain curious.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Bring it on in. Well, yeah, because I feel that I can bring a positive spin to it and an understanding that's empowering. So that's why I'm always going to remain curious.
Stephanie started to laugh. She knew exactly where I was going with that.
Well, because if I don't remain curious, then am I remaining open to myself and my own beliefs, my own path? You know, you gotta question things always, because things are ever evolving, and if we just write it off that that's the answer, then we're gonna puck ourselves stick ourselves to something. No, thank you. Hey, look at that. We actually did over an hour. See that? Wow. All right, everybody. We're going to close up shop for today. We'll be back tomorrow where Stephanie will lead the conversation on indoctrination. Wow, look at how that rhymed. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Again, remind yourselves, just a reminder, be easy with yourselves. Give yourselves grace. Know that we're all on a journey and that this does not replace medical or mental health or any of that advice. If you still are in a place, please go always out there and seek professional attention if that is what you are in need of. We are here to just provide clarity, conversation, support, and non-judgment. And as I always say, beautiful souls, you woke up today, so your soul still has purpose on this planet. I ask of you, please just go out there and live it authentically true to you. Love and light, beautiful souls. We will be back here tomorrow with another beautiful roundtable conversation.